this is Dan Nielsen with Genuine Pest Control in Omaha, Nebraska and Council Bluffs, Iowa. And you're listening to the world's #1 pest control training podcast, the Pest Geek Podcast with Franklin Hernandez.
Pull out your hose and grab your can. We're about to integrate another Pest Geek podcast. Hi, everybody. Frank Hernandez here, and welcome to the Pest Geek podcast, bringing you the latest information on pests, products, and politics from today's leading industry sources to help you start, manage, and grow your pest control business.
Hey, welcome back. Welcome back to another edition of the Pest Geek podcast. I am your host, Frank Hernandez, here every day discussing all things pest. And I want to remind everybody to join the Pest Geek Society. Join the revolution of what's happening in the pest control industry. Join us on Facebook, Pest Geek Podcast Listeners Group. We're also on Twitter. We're on YouTube, pestgeekpodcast.com. Join us. Join in on the conversation. Let us know how we're doing. Let us know what you need to be more successful. Contribute, engage. And now here's Jeff McGovern with today's topic.
Well, thank you, Frank. This is Jeff McGovern, the Pest Coach. And today I wanted to talk a little bit about how we age in the industry. We're more experienced, we're more seasoned, and if we've done this a long time and approached it properly, we get better at our jobs on a daily basis. But I wanted to back up a little bit and look at the things we do and how we can do them more effectively and still do a good job as we're getting older and we don't move as well. I remember one of the largest accounts I had when I started out in the industry back in the mid-1970s was a grain facility located up in northeast Indiana. And if memory serves me, we're looking at about 3,000 bait stations we had at this place. And it was gigantic and it went on forever. And the bait stations, of course, were the old metal rat cafeterias made of galvanized steel, and they had padlocks on every one of them, and they had a hopper on the inside, and we would pour in the product, and it was all Norway rats, and it was hysterical to service those. And it took two of us twice a week, every Tuesday, every Thursday, all year long, two people to service this account to keep up with it. And we also did treatments in the burrows, and back then we used Sinogas A-Dust, which a lot of you folks in the industry, even for 15 or 20 years, have never gotten near that stuff, and that's probably a really good thing. But it was a full-blown attack on Norway rats, and it was a battle. But getting back to those bait stations, I remember going out there and bending down and getting up, and bending down and getting up, and bending down and getting up. And that's something we still do today. And I go out to facilities now, warehouses and things like that for audits or assessments, and I look down the side of a huge facility and say it's one run by one of the large American retailers, and you're talking, in some cases, nearly 2 million square feet, and you look down the outside of that building, and as far as the eye can see, at 50-foot centers are bait stations. And you have to go out there and change those. Bend down, get up, bend down, get up. And you have to document them, and you have to scan them, and you have to keep them clean, and you have to figure out where the patterns might be based on what you're finding in the station for not only rodents, but for insects. And it's a tough job. And in looking at that, I realized that in today's world, if I was faced with that, after about the first 10 bait stations, my knees are going to hurt. In fact, for a lot of us in this industry that are, let's call us well-seasoned, we have that issue. But there are some things that can make that easier. And the first thing I'm going to say right off is wear knee pads. And I see some senior technicians now with thick knee pads on when they do this work. And they drop to a knee with the thick pads, and they can still get up and down pretty well. But even that will wear on you over time. There is a bait station developed by the folks at Technicide, the people that make the Exacticide duster, that's a stand-up bait station. And I mention it because the pest control industry hasn't embraced it as well as, say, the food processing industry has, because they see the stand-up bait station as an opportunity for them to be able to do assessments on those placements a lot more easily. Their own employees don't have to bend down and get up all the time. And you approach the station, you've got the key on an extendable pole, you drop it down, turn it, it unlocks the top, you lift it off. Everything you need to deal with regards to the product is right there on rods. excuse me, including the card that you may want to fill out or scan. It's all there in your hands. You're up in the air with it. You haven't bent over. And if you want to clean the station out, you can do it very easily simply by having a brush or a broom, a small one, on the other end of that extendable pole, in which case you spin it around, brush out the station, and you're good to go. If you want to put a trap in the station, it allows for that, and you can simply use an overbar style trap, set it, put it on a little hook on the trigger, set it down easily inside, come off of it, flip the top back down, drop the lid back, turn it, and you're off, and you've never bent over in the servicing of the device. But take a look at those, because I love innovation in the field, and Lord knows that Technicide duster, the Exacticide, is a heck of a good piece of equipment, and Jim Harper put a lot into the design of that station. And it might be a good idea for some of you to even call him and ask him why he invented that station, because it was done out of what could have been a serious failure. And Jim wanted to make sure that failures like that didn't occur in the future, so he designed that station. But take a look at it. I think it's a real good idea. And by the same token, as we get a little more seasoned, maybe it's not quite as easy for us to reach up and get bait where we need to. And you're using a bait gun, you know, they're only so long, and we have had extensions in the past. The problem is the extensions, you had to fill the tube up and waste product before you could force it out the tip that was, say, 18 to 24 or whatever inches away. Again, the folks at Technicide have that bait extension tip that fits onto a standard bait gun, the Tech Baiter. And take a look at that extension, because by clipping that on to the end of your bait gun, you get more reach. And they make different sizes. And if I remember correctly, Jim Harper, and by the way, it's called the Tech Reach. The Tech Baiter is the bait station. I kind of messed up there, but see, I'm seasoned. That's part of the problem. But at any rate, that Tech Reach can be made in different sizes. So if you have a particular situation where you have to reach out a long way, you need to talk to Mr. Harper, because you put the standard bait cartridge at the end of it, and then there's a push rod that goes up through the device and dispenses the product. So very inexpensive, and yet they make you taller and with more reach, and you don't have to wobble around on top of your service box or standing on a small step ladder or something like that. You can actually reach up and put deposits of product where you want them. Now, along those same lines with extensions, you need to look at some of the ways we put out dust. Again, Technicide kind of leads the way on this, because if you hook in to an Exacticide duster, if you want to push dust 40 feet away, you can, and you can do it very easily. And he makes all types of extensions, and I find myself using those in commercial kitchens because I can reach, deposit dust, be effective, be precise. I'm not climbing up on stainless steel equipment. I'm not clambering up ladders on a slippery floor. And it's cool for when you got to bend over too, because you can just reach down and put the product where you need it, and you're not killing that well-seasoned technician's body that you've worked on for so many years. And if you look at a hand duster type arrangement for the same thing, on a shorter scale with not quite as much reach, but certainly enough for a small hand duster, Aerofog makes a puff duster that's ideal for the same process, where it extends our reach. Now, I use the same type of technology when I'm taking pictures. I have selfie sticks, if you'll call them, for my cameras. My cameras connect to my phone. And in a lot of cases where I used to use a mirror to be able to see on top or around something, I can actually do it with my selfie sticks now. And I even have them for my phone, so I can reach up with my phone. And with the voice control capability that we have for a lot of these devices, I can tell it to take a picture. I can push a button on my phone and it'll take a picture. I can record whatever I want, and I can reach to different areas without having to do damage to myself. And where I've really found this to be handy is I'll take one of the small cameras and have it on my extendable pole, my monopod, flip it upside down so the camera is right against the ground, and I can walk along the edge of a building and check underneath the edges of siding and all those places, keeping my eye glued to the image that's on my phone, take pictures where I need to. There's no way on earth I could see those penetrations unless I was face down in the dirt trying to figure out where they were, and I can calmly walk along and spot them with that camera by reaching down and looking. And none of this technology is that expensive. You just have to be sure that when you get a camera, that it truly operates properly with your phone. Now, the ones that I use most often for that type of work are Replay Prime X's. Problem with that is right now, that company may have gone out of business. I'm not really sure. I've been trying to find them for a year. But those little Replay Prime X cameras, I do a lot of photography work for my presentations with them, and they're beautiful shots that can be cropped. You can do something very similar with the new GoPros, the Hero 5 or 6, and get similar photos that control the camera remotely and be able to get what you need. If you're just depending on your phone, a good selfie stick with the phone and voice control to your phone to tell it to take a picture, you can do sort of the same thing. But it's just the idea of taking ourselves and leaving some of that bending and reaching and climbing to technology and advancements rather than to our well-seasoned pest control bodies. Because over the years, we take a tremendous amount of abuse, and I know how it is. And I see some serious talent in the field that looks down the side of that building and takes a deep breath and knows, well, thank God it's Friday, I'm off tomorrow because it's going to take the weekend for my knees to recover. So just saying, take a look at these things that are advancements that can make it easier for you to get where you need to and not beat up the most important piece of equipment you have, which is what you're walking around in every day, that well-trained, well-conditioned pest control body. And so with that, this is Jeff McGovern. As always, I try to keep these short. If anybody has any commentary or questions, for gosh sakes, let me know and I'll try to find you answers, because I'm always looking forward to find pieces of equipment that'll make our days so much easier in the field, because nothing's better than going to a meeting and doing a presentation and getting a call afterwards and somebody says, you know, I tried that suggestion you made. Oh man, it really helped and it made my job easier. So with that, Frank, thank you so much, sir. You folks take care. Have a wonderful day. This is Jeff McGovern, the Pest Coach. Until next time.
We hope you have enjoyed this edition of the Pest Geek Podcast. Have a pestacular day.
Thank you for listening to the Pest Geek Podcast. If you have enjoyed the Pest Geek Podcast, please give us a rating, write a review, or subscribe to the channel. You can join the Pest Geek Society by visiting pestgeekpodcast.com. Thank you for listening. See you next time.